Finding a Path to Success. My name is Amy Ballantyne. Welcome to Power to the People Pleasers. I'm so excited to have my guest, Michael Gibbon, here. Welcome, Michael.
Oh, hello, Amy, and thank you so much, everybody, for being here today.
I'm so excited to have our time together. Michael and I
Yeah.
met at our TEDx talk a few weeks ago,
hmm
and I'm so I'm so excited to talk to you because there were a number of moments in your speaking actually where I was like, "Oh, this is someone I can absolutely have a great discussion with on the podcast," and I know that we will be able to add a lot of value for people today. So I'm so glad you're here. So Michael is a speaker and consultant, TEDx speaker, as I shared. 15-year career leading anxious and introverted entrepreneurs to find their path to success. So I'm excited for us to dig into this. But before we do, Michael, my favorite question for this is, have you ever been a people pleaser, and how did that show up in your life?
Absolutely, Amy. Thank you again for the wonderful introduction. And yes, I 100% was a people pleaser. I would call myself an almost reformed people pleaser now. There's still little shades of it that come in here and there from time to time. And I think it really just stemmed from childhood onward into adulthood, just from that driving need for acceptance.
Mm.
And I think also in turn, finding out who I was and putting together, just untangling a lot of that enmeshed, frankly, garbage of, you know, people's preconceived notions about who I was, uncovering why I thought I was worthless, and figuring out through a lot of reflection, as you mentioned, anxiety and introversion. I'm very reflective, and just going through a lot of time with self-help and through some therapy and getting a support system to really uncover
Mm.
that you don't have to be pleasing people who want you to please them. They're not people you want in your lives. So
Oh,
it was a huge journey with people pleasing. Definitely.
I really appreciate that one sentence. The people who want you to please them are not ones you want in your life. That is,
Mhm.
might be the most powerful statement of the whole session. And we haven't even had much of a conversation yet. That was awesome.
No.
Michael, so you brought up some really interesting things here, that people pleasing came from a place of acceptance.
Mhm.
So I would love to know, for those people listening who are not as far along on their journey, right? I call myself a recovering people pleaser. I'm still, on the path. I definitely
Yeah.
made lots of strides, but there is an angle there around acceptance. And I'd
Yes.
love to know for you, was there one thing that helped you around acceptance or more? Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. So I think really it like going into right up to probably age 24, I was so just it was so deeply ingrained within me, the conditional qualifiers for acceptance that I did
Mhm.
not want to make the right choices for myself, and I made a lot of self-destructive choices.
Mm,
And the first bit of acceptance really came when I met my future husband, Mike,
mm,
in 2007. That was one of the first people in my life that really was showing me an unconditional chance to be myself and be
amazing.
free. And that was the catalyst, I think, where the ball started to roll, where I was like, you know what, I don't have to be this meek, timid, yes person to everybody. And I can start to build something better for myself. And so that was really the catalyst. But I knew, okay, I need to do more. Now I have to be introspective and figure
Mm,
out where it's coming from and why allowed myself for so many years to just accept nothing or less than nothing, or continually had the path to self-sabotage. Because as people pleasers, Amy, I'm not sure if you or others have had this on their journey. You start off really strong in new relationships, because
mhm.
whether it's dating, whether it's colleagues, whether it's friendships, work, wherever it might be, you are putting so much into it to make the other person happy that you're not giving your authentic self, and you burn out so fast by putting on that front, that mask. When the mask
Yeah.
slips, people are either going to be sick of you, or they're going to wonder, well, who's this person that now running at less energy, or that's not giving as much. And it
Mm,
can lead to difficulties, and really it leads to a lot of transient relationships, because you're not giving your full self, because
yeah.
you're trying to give that super saturated version that's not authentic. So that was a huge learning curve for myself, because I just felt, oh, I have to find friends. I have to find friends. I didn't have a lot of friends growing up, so I've got to, you know, try to flunk out of school. I'll find friends that way, or I'll become a binge drinker. I'll find friends that way, and just made a lot of very negative, toxic choices because I thought I'll get acceptance. I'll have people say you're cool. That's good enough for me, and it's not. It really isn't. And everybody who's listening today, just remember that you find the core root of whatever shame, whatever the guilt is, whatever it is, the root cause of why you feel that you need to give to others so excessively, and figure out when is enough and who's the true person underneath all that. And it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight, but that just find that true person. Start to find inklings of it. No matter where you are in your journey, even if it's right at the beginning, start to dig and find who you are underneath all of that bravado of you know, toxic positivity and trying to be there for everybody. Find that seed. You know, I'm not saying go, don't be nice and don't be giving to others, but find who that is at the core and build up that healthy parameter within
I love
it.
that. I love it.
Yeah.
So many powerful things that you just said there. My goodness,
Yeah.
so many things. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about this concept of anxious and introverted finding a path to success. So you mentioned on a video I found online that you were talking about 5 awesome superpowers. Can you
Yeah.
share those here? I think that would be really helpful.
Sure thing. So in terms of those 5 awesome superpowers, we really have to look at as introverts, there's often a misconception that we're very weak, you know, we're aloof, we're not following along with what, you know, we're not following the program, or we're not engaged socially with other people. And that's not true. That's actually, there's a misconception there. And a lot of introverts struggle in their entrepreneurial pursuits or at work because there is, again, you're not as gregarious or outgoing as the extroverted counterpart. So you might be perceived as lesser than. So the parts that really, some of the superpowers that can really help if you're an introvert is, I mean, we are very active listeners and we're always listening. And it's something that can be really beautiful because as an active listener, if you have your ears open and you're listening to what's going on around you, whether you're talking to a potential client or you're talking to a colleague, you're showing you care by just providing that ear. And you can ask the all important questions, whether you're talking to a potential client or whether you're talking to your boss or whatever. You can ask some really specific, detailed questions that somebody who might not be, who might be so busy talking might not be taking the time to listen and reflect on.
Yeah.
We're very empathetic people too, and I think that's something, another skill that as introverts it's a power because we're attuned to other people's feelings, and we're watching how other people behave. We pick up on a lot of those cues, and that's what we're doing when we're sitting there, be it in a meeting or a family gathering or with friends. We're not sitting here like this because we just want to disengage and get out of there, or we're thinking about puppies or whatever, or what's for dinner. Like, no, we're really trying to get in key with who you are and what your needs are. And that's invaluable at work. If you can provide that, that's such a wonderful resource to be able to tap into people's feelings, because clients, they want to be heard and they want to be seen. And that's so wonderful. You have that power to do that. Tying into that, we're very observant people. We're constantly watching what's going on around us, and it gives us a unique perspective. To be able to be on sort of, it looks like we're on the outside looking in, but we're really inside the circle looking out and seeing what everybody else is doing. And so then we can make the right decisions based on that, or we know what's the next big thing we can share with people because we're observing what's going on at work or in our home life or whatever might be there. So so those are the three big ones of the superpowers. We're also very reflective people. I know for myself, as an introvert, I love to reflect. It's a big part of what every morning and every evening I reflect on my day or what I'm going to do during the day. And it just helps me to really center myself on what I need to do. And it's very valuable too, because as especially if you're an entrepreneur, you can get very stressed by seemingly negative situations or situations where you're in the spotlight. But it's like you're reflective. You're thinking about what you could do different for next time that's better, or how can I navigate this negative situation, and you give yourself the grace and time to figure it out, and you're not just jumping to the next thing. So those are the big ones. So yeah, so being very much an active listener, empathetic, observant, reflective, and that recharge factor that we have is a great superpower as well. We really take our time to, Amy, to recharge and refocus and rejuvenate ourselves so we can be our best selves. And we listen to a lot of introverts. Anxious is a little bit different, but introverts, we really are able to recognize, okay, this is time to recharge. We need to do this because we want to give our best self to whoever we're working for, or if we're entrepreneurs who we're serving, we want to give our best self. Or if we have a team, how can we help them? And we have to take care of ourselves. And that's a great gift to be able to recharge, because then you can come back in with a fresh face, fresh mind, fresh heart, and focus the best you can.
I love it. I love it. So I would love to know, for individuals, I know you're talking about entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs who maybe have a team. I would love to know how a leader of an introverted individual can best harness the power and potential of that team member.
That's an excellent question, Amy. I know from my own experience with working with team members who were introverted, and talking to other clients, like being an introvert, and myself is a bit of maybe an advantageous position, but when working with somebody who's introverted, it's taking the time to really, ask what they think, but don't put them on the spot necessarily. Let them take the time to absorb as much as possible, and then ask them what their thoughts are. It can be, you can kind of gauge their comfortability. They might want to share with you one-on-one. They might want to share in a bigger meeting. They might want to share in a small group. See where they best fit, and see as well, they have a finger on the pulse of your company. They really do, in so many different ways within their role. So find out what they're seeing. What are they observing? What are future trends they're noticing? What are things they are seeing coming up? And that's because they're great. Introverts are excellent people readers. And that's something that can be absolutely invaluable and a wonderful asset to your team. I mean, if this is somebody who can help you to gauge they can really do great things with navigating an unhappy client, or or a client who's really having a great experience, they can take it to that next level, because introverts are very thoughtful networkers, and they will go above and beyond for you in that regard. So those are great things to tap into. They're excellent. They have great communication skills. They may not be the most comfortable jumping up in front of a group and sharing everything they want to share and constantly, go in a meeting. But tap into those quiet powers, and they are invaluable to your team, and they will complement the extroverted counterparts in your group. So you're creating this great team. Another strategy is pair up a more extroverted team member with a more introverted team member. Then you've got the power of both of those different personality types coming together to create a super team. And a super team where you have this, they can give each other's strengths and help build up areas that they need to develop. That's going to create a stronger overall team for you.
For sure.
So those are amazing. A couple approaches. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Now I want to shift slightly over to the anxious side. And I know that you shared a TEDx, which isn't out yet, but soon, right? We're hopeful. And you were talking a lot about the anxiety monster. Can you talk about that and share a couple of, tidbits from that feel relevant today?
Sure. So so for those who are listening, who haven't seen the TEDx yet, so an anxiety monster is really it's that voice, or that potentially that shape or voice or presence that you have when you're feeling anxious, and it can say things and do things that cause you to go into that negative spiral of anxiety and self-sabotage. And so now there are ways, though, that you can really tame that anxiety monster and build a beautiful allyship with your anxiety, which can serve you very well. I know for myself, and Amy heard it during the TEDx talk, I really struggled for many years with, fighting with my anxiety. We had a very adversarial relationship, because I just felt I believed everything anxiety told me about myself, that I was worthless and I had nothing, and et cetera, et cetera. And that's obviously to your detriment. But what you can do by building that relationship, a couple of things you can do is really nurture your anxiety monster's Achilles heel, the self-esteem part. Because anxiety makes us very ambitious. We want to go. We're really, a lot of us are high achievers with anxiety, and we want to push, push, push. But it's also our anxiety monster is giving us negative feedback. We're not going to grow in the best direction. So it's really taking the time to give yourself a lot of positive affirmation to counterbalance that high ambition with a positive, calming affirmation for yourself. I do gratitude walks every single day, 15 minutes to start my day, where I think about what is one thing I will do well today, what's one positive impact I'm going to make today, and why do I matter today? Because we all matter, but we have to really, really take the time when you're anxious to affirm that to yourself, because so often you can get so buried with your anxiety that you don't believe any of that, and you go into that spiral of self-doubt and sabotage. Yeah. And as well, another thing for really building up a more of a positive relationship with your anxiety is I've always really enjoyed the fact that my anxiety taught me to really get a good read on people. And there's a really great study out there about anxiety. People with anxiety have a sixth sense that's at a different level than those who have lower anxiety. So if you have anxiety, you can use those different fight or flight and other mechanisms that are in place, just pivot them towards more who's here to help, who's here to hinder, who do I want in my circle, who do I want outside my circle. And so if you want to build a really solid circle, and that can be invaluable in life, in business, just in different parts of different facets of your life, to become the best self you can be by being surrounded by your strongest network that you can have. It's really invaluable.
So I'm so excited for people to hear your TEDx and to put these things into practice. And I love, this idea of a gratitude walk, and that I really like that you didn't call it gratitude or a walking meditation. I think some people get a little bit bent out of shape around the word meditation, that it's really hard and I can't do it. And you gave a very practical option of going for a walk and saying these three things. I love that.
Yeah. No,
I
no
love
worries.
that.
Yeah, and you're right. It's exactly. There is sometimes that, meditation, it can be difficult. Well, a walk is something, like, it can be something as simple as you're walking to the car, and then if say
Mm.
or going for a walk to down the street and back, if
Yes.
you're walking your child to school, it can be something you're thinking about, when you're walking with them to school. You just little things like that. It can be, just think, or finding that 10 minutes for yourself, if you're able to really take that walk, or 15 minutes, and just take a few moments to embrace those things while you're on a walk that you're doing anyway.
Yeah, you're doing it anyway. And I love this idea of shifting the relationship that you have with your anxiety, like
Mhm.
seeing it through a new perspective, that there are valuable components, and how
Yeah.
can we harness those valuable components in order to be helpful in our growth journey. I love that. Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. So you are a coach for tutors. You have your own podcast, right?
Yes, I do. The Coach for Tutors podcast. Yes.
Very fun.
Yeah.
I'd love to know, as we wrap up our time together today, you talk about anxiety, you talk about being introverted, helping these people. You're a coach for tutors. You do so many different things. What is your one takeaway that you would leave the audience with today, if they relate to having anxiety and or being an introvert? What would you tell them as a coach?
I would say for anxiety, you know, take it small steps, and really recognize that it's okay when we fall, but take the time to figure out your best way to rise, and just take it, again, small steps when you have anxiety, and celebrate those small victories when you have a moment of clarity with it, or a moment of peace with your anxiety monster. Really celebrate those moments. And if you're introverted, I mean, sometimes that's coupled with anxiety, but if you're introverted, remember, quiet is a power, and
Mm.
perception's a power. And just remember, you harness that quiet superpower and rock it, because that's going to be louder than any other noise out there.
Oh, I love that. Quiet is a power.
Yeah.
So, so good. So good. It's one of the things that I'm aiming to have more. I'm pretty high energy and adding the meditation into my life and the time of quiet. That's the point, right? Of meditation
Mhm.
is the time of quiet and being able to calm the mind has been so helpful for me being not so all the time, right?
Yeah,
Amazing, amazing. Well,
absolutely.
I want to thank you so much, Michael, for being here today and for sharing your story and for sharing all this information. And for those people who want to connect with Michael, he's on LinkedIn, he's on Facebook. All of the links will be in the show notes as well as his website. Uh, Sometime when the new TEDx comes out, we'll load that in there as well. And you can reach out to Michael for his wonderful connection as well.
Thank you so much, Amy. It was an absolute pleasure to be here. And thank you again, listeners, for listening. And again, yeah, you can reach out to me at michaelgibbon@gmail.com or at www.michaelgibbon.com.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Michael. And thank you so much to the people pleasers listeners. Please stay tuned for the next episode coming soon. Have a great day.
Bye.